Chapter 191. Part 4 of 6. Pain jumped forward and bapped me on the face. Chrysalis and Celestia appeared before me, locked in a staring contest. This was after we crashed the wedding and captured my sweet little bug queen, so she was in a magic bubble. "It's nice to finally have you in my dungeon where you belong," Celestia finally said. "What do you intend to do with me?" Chrysalis demanded. "I intended to send you to Tartarus, but one of my new assets convinced me otherwise. He seems to believe we can come to a peace agreement. He even proposed a possible alliance. It seems you put much weight on his words. I know how much you've wanted me out of the picture." "Oh, Chrysalis, you know I never wanted this," Celestia said. "I never wanted us to be enemies. Your responses to my requests for aid could have fooled me. So do you intend to force me into some lopsided alliance, then? Turn my changelings into yet another of your vassal races? Allow us to siphon off love like parasites? That's what your race is, Chrysalis. Parasites? I have no intention of allowing my ponies to be fed upon. But Navarone is intelligent and his mind works in ways I don't yet fully understand. If he believes a solution can be found, I will allow him the chance to seek one." "Navarone? The winged ape, I assume?" "The very same. I am placing you in his care while you're a guest here. I suggest doing your best to accommodate him. I will need to find a way to feed. He is somehow empty of emotion. That explains some things. I will see to finding you emotions. If you treat Nav with respect, you will be treated with respect in turn. In fact, I assume he'll be complaining about your treatment. He sounds like an ape after my own heart, assuming you've trained him not to throw poo. He's still only half-trained and loves taking digs at whoever he pleases, so don't expect to be spared. If he can't find a solution that we both accept, I'll allow you a chance to plead your case. If I don't like what I hear, I'll condemn you to Tartarus and finally eradicate the changeling race for good." In response to that, Chrysalis turned into Celestia. "If you eradicate my children, I'll find allies in Tartarus. Allies who want to kill this pretty body I'm wearing. And I'll lead them straight here to you, Celestia. Perhaps I'll stop by Iceland and invite Bahamut, too. I think he has a few scores he's been looking forward to settling. Then perhaps I should just kill you instead." That left them glaring at each other until the door started opening. The memory ended, so I assumed that's when I walked in. "Well, that's an interesting tidbit," I said. "I'm not really sure how relevant it is to me, though. And who did we even get this memory from?" "Celestia's dead." "Chrysalis," Reason said. "Or Moonbeam, I suppose. And of course this memory is relevant. It shows that Celestia actually did trust you. Of course she trusted me back then. She wouldn't have been using me if she didn't trust me. That was never in doubt. There's trust and then there's trust," Pride said. "Celestia knew you could handle any task she gave you. With that in mind, she allowed you to decide what would become of Chrysalis. That's a huge responsibility." "A huge responsibility that she never really told me about," I said. "She did say that I would be one of the ones that could visit Chrysalis, but she didn't say anything about me being the deciding factor. At least, not to me. Does it really count as a defining moment in my life if I never knew it happened?" "It does," Reason said. "For the simple fact that despite not knowing about your responsibility, you accomplished what she desired. In record time, too," Fear said. She reached up and poked me, placing me in front of Luna and Celestia. "Love poison," Luna slowly said. "That's ingenious. Does it actually work?" "That remains to be seen," Celestia said. "And yes, not only is it ingenious, but he came up with it so quickly that I can't help but be impressed." "I told you from the start not to underestimate him, sister," Luna said. "And I never have," Celestia quickly replied. I have been giving him test after test so I can estimate him appropriately. So far, he has passed most with flying colors. To that end, I haven't finished estimating him at all. But I assure you, when I am finished, I will absolutely not make the mistake of underestimating our wonderful human. My wonderful human, Luna said. He will become my knight. Perhaps. He doesn't seem to like the idea of knighthood at all. Perhaps being my knight would put him more at ease. You said he would be mine. I did. But far be it from me to force him to pick the princess he's scared of. I think he might be happier with me. I highly doubt his warrior heart could ever appreciate a soft mare like you. Perhaps. But he does appreciate a mare who's never tried to slip him love poison before. Luna's ears fell back against her head. So it's actually true? You tried drugging him. It's not like it worked. And if it had? What, were you just going to keep him as a love-struck pet? You know love poison clouds the mind. He would be worthless in that state. Better worthless and in my care than being used with little to no training. Celestia sighed and lifted a hoof to rub her temple. I'm trying to work with you here, Luna. I really am. I didn't immediately immolate him when it became clear this might be more than a simple crush. In fact, I even put you in a position to sleep with him. But you're really making it hard to find excuses to allow him to keep living. Did you really think I'd let you just keep him? Yes. I assumed you cared more about your sister's happiness. And you don't see anything wrong at all with utterly subjugating Nav and turning him into your love slave. Why would I? You're proposing to do the same thing by making him my knight. Once he's forced to follow my orders, his silly reservations will no longer matter. I am not giving Nav to you so you can rape him all you want, Celestia said. And if I ever find out that you used your position to force yourself on him, I will immediately remove him from you. That is utterly unacceptable. Then what am I even supposed to do with him? You haven't given me any duties. You are a princess, Luna. Perhaps you should take initiative. But if you are incapable of coming up with your own tasks, I would be happy to place one upon you. I can think of all kinds of fun things to do with my own army. How is Mexico this time of year? I bet it's ripe for conquering. I suppose taking initiative is still beyond you. When I was forced to flee the old capital in what became the ever-free forest, several things were left behind. One of them was the dream machine. I would like you to obtain it and reactivate it. You just left it there. There were more pressing concerns and I had a feeling it would remain safe. Send Nav and some troops to get it. It's time we see how he behaves when in command. As you wish. If his idea to use love poison does pan out, what will become of Chrysalis? As he was quick to point out, there are several uses for an army of shapeshifters. Perhaps it's time to bring our dear Moonbeam back into the fold. Perhaps. Be wary of using that name. I'm not sure if it still enrages her. It very much does. I suggest reintroducing yourself, if you haven't already. That will be my next stop. And Nav is in the room next to hers. He is. Feel free to have your fun, if he's willing. I know I will. Just be wary of Chrysalis's hearing. I am, as ever, discreet. The memory ended, bringing me back into the wedding. At this point, Chrysalis was loudly monologuing. So, that was Mad Spooksville, I said. Luna didn't seem to have any regrets at all about the love poison thing. And she was planning on misusing her power over you, Fear said. Which is why you hoped beyond hope that you could escape their grasp, Hope said. Which is why you acted out as much as possible before to seem as unknightly as possible. Well, that was part of why. The other part involved the multiple lust spells I was under at the time. I certainly hoped I could avoid being forced into knighthood because I knew exactly why they were doing it. With me magically oathed to Luna, I would be forced into their servitude for what I assumed would be the rest of my life. A situation the two princesses seemed to enjoy, of course, Reason said. You're surprised by all the cruel things Celestia did to her sister. I am. She's openly holding Luna's love for me over her head and constantly reminding Luna how I want nothing to do with her. That's just mean and petty. So are we going to talk about the love poison idea? Payne asked. Because I really think we should. When I came up with the idea, I was expecting Celestia to use things like pirates, rapists, cannibals, and other trash. I wasn't expecting her to use the changelings to dispose of troublesome political prisoners. Does that really make it better? Reason asked. Probably not. What other alternatives are there? To this day, I still can't think of anything. What Discord said about integrating changelings into society as servants and other lower-class workers was interesting, but cruel. I want more for Moonbeam and the changeling race. I also want more for the prisoners being used to feed them. I just don't know another solution. I considered the cloning pool, but I don't know if that's really better. Whether or not there is an alternate solution has little to do with the guilt you feel, Payne said. It seeps out of you whenever you're reminded of it. You always try to explain it away or rationalize it. But you know you're just as much the cause of their fates as Celestia herself. That's bullshit. I didn't decide who ended up as changeling food. I just came up with the idea. I offered it to Celestia and suggested that she use prisoners. She made the choice of who got to go. Innocent ponies wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for my suggestion, but that doesn't mean them ending up there was my fault. A fine distinction, I'm sure, Payne sarcastically replied. So you came up with an incredibly evil idea and gave it to someone you knew was a tyrant. Tell me, were you surprised by the outcome? Yes. When Watcher told me, I was shocked. I knew Celestia was a tyrant. I knew she was evil. But through it all, I knew that all she wanted was what she thought was best for her ponies. Finding out that she willingly sacrificed innocent ponies who just made the mistake of having the wrong opinion or asking the wrong question confirmed in my mind that it was time to deal with Celestia. Does your shock excuse you? Fear asked. What do your intentions matter when you compare them to the true results? Are you going to blame the man who invented the oven for the Holocaust? I ask. I came up with an idea. Somebody else put that idea into practice, disregarding the suggestions I gave them. The oven wasn't intended to radically alter the way human minds worked in an attempt to make them constantly exude love. You're right. The oven was intended to produce food. You know, kinda like my idea to use love poison to generate food for the changelings. You're dancing behind words, Reason said. We all see straight through you. Your guilt is plain as day. I sighed and looked over at Chrysalis, who was now wrapped up in a bubble. What was I supposed to do? You're right. I do feel guilt for the idea I came up with, but what was I supposed to do? I couldn't just let the changelings die out. Not everything is your responsibility to fix, you know, Hope said. You're right. But I put that responsibility on myself the moment I made the choice to stop Celestia from sending her to Tartarus. I couldn't in good conscience allow that to happen. So I came up with a monstrous idea. A monstrous idea to solve an imminent crisis. And yet, now that I've had more time to come up with something better, I haven't. I very honestly and truthfully just don't know what else to do. When no good solution exists, does it make sense to feel guilt for picking what seems like the least awful choice? My guide asked. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but I know that I do, I said. I wish the feeling would leave me, but it isn't so easy. Have you tried taking pride in saving a race from extinction? Pride asked. Yes. The guilt makes such pride impossible. It'll all go away if you just kill pain, Hope said. Then you can feel all the pride and hope you want. I would feel very lonely, Fear said. You wouldn't be feeling anything after Nav gets done with you, Pride said. You're next on the chopping block after Pain. I'm not here to kill anyone, I said. I'm here to fix all of you and get you all working together. So, I feel guilt for coming up with my idea to use prisoners for changeling food. What do I do to fix that? Some things can't be fixed, Reason said. This choice has been made. There might be some time you feel peace with it, but not now. There is nothing you can do, but you must stop hiding your feelings behind rationalizations and facades. If you can't even be honest to yourself, how can you ever expect to be honest to others? Because I hate myself more than I hate most others. Perhaps we should move on to the next memory, Fear said. She reached over and poked me. This time, I beheld Luna, Chrysalis, and Doppel. They were in Chrysalis's chambers in the palace. Why were you antagonizing Navarone? Luna coldly asked. I was doing nothing of the sort, Chrysalis said. That brute struck me. Navarone is no brute. He is ill-mannered at times, but not on the whole violent. If he struck you, you deserved it. What did you do? I became his sister, not that it's any of your business. Navarone has a sister. Luna asked. Did you not know? Odd. I assumed you two knew everything there was to know about that thing. He has spoken little of his home, less of his family. Do not antagonize him again. Or what, he'll punch me again. I'll be ready to defend myself, next time. If you harm a hair on that human's head, I'll finally finish off the last of Discord's chosen freaks. That made Chrysalis chuckle, oddly enough. Oh, my dear sweet little Luna. I brought you into this world, crying and screaming. If you push me, I'll make sure you leave it the same way. Big words, for a bug in a cage. I could squash you with nary an effort. I believe your horn and crown would look good in my trophy room. Well, it's good to know 1,000 years on the moon hasn't changed you in the slightest, Mooney said. You're still as mindlessly bloodthirsty as ever. You've grown quite thin, yourself. I trust you weren't attempting to feed on my human, were you? He offered his emotions freely. In fact, he was quite eager to feed me his oh-so-delicious sorrow. What? Luna hissed. His emotions are very strange, Chrysalis said. Muted, in a way. They're actually embedded into his memories, not felt openly on his sleeve. I've never seen anything like it. The taste of his sorrow was so bittersweet I almost couldn't take it. That human is very deeply troubled. I can't wait to taste him again. Your permission to touch his mind and emotions is now revoked, Luna said. And if I find out you're doing it again, I'll kill you by hoof. Celestia herself gave me permission to feed as needed, Chrysalis said. And Navarone has volunteered his services to me. Wouldn't you rather I feed on him than on a pony? I would rather you starve. Well, it will be up to you to explain to Celestia why you murdered such a valuable asset after I fed on your precious human. As for myself, I have no intention of stopping. He is delicious and I shall feed on him as often as offered. I shall arrange to have an orphan brought to you instead. You can feed off it as much as you like. I'm sure you'd prefer feeding off a helpless foal even more. That actually seemed to make Chrysalis angry. Get out. Luna looked down at the dent in Mooney's chest and smirked. Her horn lit up and the dent popped out. Be wary of angering the human, Chrysalis. Given the chance, he'll find your weak spots quickly. When Chrysalis didn't reply, Luna turned to leave and the memory ended. And so the cycle of cruelty continued, I said. Celestia was mean to Luna, who was in turn mean to Chrysalis. If I had to guess, I'd say Chrysalis turned around and was mean to Doppel, because Doppel was mean to me the next day. Luna is not very wise, Reason said. She quite easily and quickly gave away how important you were to her. Without even a hesitation, I said. Trust me, I've figured out exactly how unwise she is. I'm going to have to keep her on a tight leash for a while. So, aside from the fact that I was causing some pretty scary catfighting sooner than I thought, what was I supposed to take from that? The situation you have placed yourself into is untenable, reason said. You are surrounded on all sides by powerful women who are all constantly jockeying for position. You can see here, before you even declared any of them to be a possible partner, they are already close to fighting over you. So, basically what I said a few memories ago, I said. Only this time with some actual evidence. As another point, this shows how protective Luna is, Pride said. If she was like this then, I imagine she's only worse now. Again, this is something I'm well aware of. Being placed on her back every time I opened my mouth at the bunker did plenty to showcase it. I'm working on fixing her. It's just going to take time. Are you sure it's worth it? Payne asked. You were able to fix Celestia immediately with Flo's help. I'm sure Luna would be happy to allow you to use an elemental to fix her most troublesome qualities. You wouldn't even have to kill her entire personality, just the bad pieces. I'm not going to do that. Why not? Reason asked. It would be the quickest, safest way to solve the problem. There's no telling who Luna might hurt before you're capable of stabilizing her. With at the very least an elemental in her head to keep her from doing anything stupid. Emma, stop you right there, I said. That sounds an awful lot like something a water elemental pushing her way into my coma would say. I'm not going to use the elementals to control Luna. I don't care if it's the reasonable thing to do or not, it's the wrong thing to do. Celestia left us no choice. Luna is trying to change. I'm going to give her the chance. Are you prepared for the next memory? My guide asked. Do you mean that there are more scenes to see attached to the wedding, or are you asking if I'm ready to move on from the wedding to whatever's next? The first. There are a few more scenes. Wow. Then yet, bring on the next. End of part 4.